Hebrews 12:2 says, we must keep our eyes on Jesus, who leads us and makes our faith complete. He endured the shame of being nailed to a cross because he knew that later on he would be glad that he did. You see, Jesus chose to be our sacrifice. It wasn't a single, a one-time decision. There were a long line of decisions that led him there. And each one of his choices taking him closer to the cross. And over the next few moments, I'm going to lead us through some of the last hours of Jesus' life. And I'm going to zero in on some of those choices that help us see how deliberately Jesus went to the cross to be our sacrifice. And as I do that, I ask you to try to do your best to imagine these moments, what it might have looked like, the sounds that you might have heard, the scents that might have been in the air. And you know, for some of you, you might want to close your eyes if that helps. And for some, you might want to take a moment to clear your head. So for all of us, right before I begin, let's just take a deep breath.
Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Oh, were you there when they crucified my Lord? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble. Oh, were you there when they crucified my Lord?
Thursday night, 11 p.m. Jesus kneels in the dew-covered gardens of Gethsemane and asks his Father whether there might still be another way. But in the very next breath, he says, not my will, but yours be done. He chooses to submit. And now it's early Friday morning, 1 a.m., surrounded by swords flickering with flames of torches. The mob grabs hold of Jesus, worrying that he might escape. And he says, do you think that I cannot call on my Father and he will at once put at my disposal more than 12 legions of angels? He doesn't do this. He chooses to surrender to the mob. Friday at 2 a.m., Jesus is on trial. False witnesses, liars, they make all kinds of accusations against him, none of which agree with one another. Jesus could possibly point out these lies, these inconsistencies, and perhaps go free. He doesn't. He stays silent because he chooses to be wronged. Friday at 7:30 a.m., in an effort to satiate an increasingly bloodthirsty crowd, Pilate orders Jesus beaten, whips cut through his flesh. Jesus doesn't ask for mercy. He chooses to be broken.
Were you there when they nailed him to the tree? Oh, were you when they nailed him to the tree? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble. Oh, were you there when they nailed him to the tree?
Friday at 8 a.m., Jesus is turned over to the soldiers who hurled insult at him. They spit in his face, and they put a crown of thorns on his head. Jesus doesn't protest. He chooses to be humiliated. Friday at 9 a.m., Jesus bears a heavy, rough-hewn cross upon his back, staggering up the hills towards Golgotha until he collapses. And someone must carry it the rest of the way. And once he reaches the top of the hill, he is laid upon that cross. His arms and legs are stretched out, and nails are driven through his wrists and his feet. The cross is hoisted into the air and then drops with wrenching force into the hole that will hold it upright. Hanging there in agony, fighting to support himself against the nails so that he can take each breath, Jesus endures a barrage of insult from the assembled crowd. Among the cries is the voice of one of the criminals who hangs alongside him. Aren't you the Christ? Save yourself and us. And though he could do exactly that, he doesn't. He chooses to endure agony. Friday, Good Friday, today at 3 p.m. Jesus shouts one last cry. It is finished. And he surrenders his spirit. He chooses to die.
Were you there when they laid him in the tomb? Or were you there when they laid him in the tomb? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble. Oh, were you there when they laid him in the tomb?
You see, when we consider all the choices that Jesus made on our behalf, the choices that took him to the cross on our behalf, what's there left to choose but overwhelming gratitude?